welcome back to the class, everyone. As many of you know, after reading Galactic Legend Leia's kit, or really just any recent kit at all, the game is not getting any simpler. In fact, there are quite a few complicated nuances. So today what I want to do is shed light on about 5 different mechanics that are most commonly misunderstood and why understanding them will give you practical benefits. So while you probably do understand a few of these, we're trying to cover our bases here and make sure that we get a wide amount of things. And what I really picked these 5 things specifically because whether on Discord or streaming, I have seen more than one person or more than a group of people misunderstand this certain or these certain interactions. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and get into it. So the one thing that all of these characters have in common, and they really don't have a lot in common at all, is the fact that they all have the capability to apply Tenacity Down. And this is really twofold when it comes to Tenacity Down, 2 mechanics that are really not understood all that correctly. And the first of which is, and it doesn't explicitly say it here, but it cannot be resisted. So whenever you're applying Tenacity Down to a character, regardless of how high their tenacity is or how low your potency is, it doesn't matter. It will always end up on them. And that's true not just for Chewbacca, but also for Night Sister Zombie and Malik, or whether it be on the AoEs of our good friends here with Mara Jade, as well as our good friend IG-11. And this, anytime Tenacity Down exists on any character, not just specifically these 5, it will always land. So keep that in mind when you're about to go into a battle and you're thinking, oh, I'm so good because my Wampa's tenacity will stack into oblivion. There's no way they'll get Tenacity Down on me. They will get it every single time. The second thing that I want to mention about Tenacity Down that is commonly misunderstood is the fact that it is not just negative 50% tenacity. A lot of debuffs out there like offense or speed down, they have a much more reasonable number like minus 50% or minus 25% or something like that. Tenacity Down is, if you actually go into the game's coding, is negative 9999900,000 or whatever ridiculously high number, to the fact that any time that a debuff can be applied, it can only be resisted by a 15% base chance that has nothing to do with tenacity and potency in general. Or in other words, if you get Tenacity Down, it doesn't matter how high your tenacity was going into it, the debuff is very likely going to apply. So you can't just be like, oh, I have 200% tenacity on my character, they have no potency. Tenacity Down won't bridge. It will bridge the gap. So it is very good, and quite honestly devalues tenacity modding as a whole. So take that as you will for the practical benefits that it can offer you. Don't go into the fight just because you have a ton of tenacity. If they have tenacity down on the enemy team, they will get you, and the debuff will be applied following it. The next one is going to be a lot more isolated. It's not going to be overall to one mechanic, but it's going to be to one specific character that I see a lot of confusion with, and that is Commander Sokkano. Commander Sokkano is a really good character. That's not really what's in question here, but she has one specific ability where she gains 50% offense critical damage, as well as health and defense, and shares all these bonuses with her light side allies. Now we have to really pay attention to the wording here, and you can go into the code and verify this. You can even test this in game by using Hoda to use heal to see what 5% health actually looks like. She is not sharing her own stats. She is sharing the bonuses. In practicality, what does this mean? It means that how you mod her and how high you have her relic up does not impact the stats the rest of the team is going to be getting. Sure, if you want to take her to relic 5 or 7 or 8 or whatever so that she herself does more damage, so that she herself has more survivability, that's great. Go ahead and do it. But don't think that you're getting this huge bang for your buck in the fact that, oh, if I take her from relic 7 up to relic 8 and get 3,000 more health, and all my entire team is going to get a portion of that because she shares it. She doesn't. A character that actually does share specifically their stats, the wording is very different. We can look at Queel for this example. At the start of the other battle, other droid and scoundrel allies gain 40% of Queel's max health, offense, and potency. And they gain, and then it has a really awkward other line that says protection. So he's not just giving them 40% of their own protection or health like Cat would be. He's giving them 40% of his own. He is actually sharing his stats, whereas Cat herself is sharing the bonus. So again, the practicality in this is going to help you determine how high you need to take Cat up, how you want to mod her, whether offensively, with health, or with speed, all depending on what you're trying to do with whatever team you have her on. Typically, she's on a JMK team, but she's really not limited to that with the amount of tag she has. Next up is going to be not really isolated to one character, but again to one specific mechanic that a lot of different characters have a different variation of. And the most universal term for it is a savior mechanic. I believe the first one of these mechanics came out was on Jedi Knight Revan himself. And basically what it means, and they actually word it perfectly here. The first time another Jedi ally would be reduced 1% health. If Revan is active, they recover 100% max health and protection. So basically, right before the character is about to die via just normal damage, not an instant defeat, they will kick all the way back up to 100% protection and health. This kind of gives the appearance like the reviving. Like if you go against Night Sisters and you kill Asajj and Zombie immediately revives when she comes back up, it kind of looks the same, but it is functionally very different. And the reason why this matters is because there's a lot of counters, or rather a lot of characters out there right now that just have universal, you can't revive when this character is active or when he does the damage or when he gets the kill. And that is going to be a little bit deceiving if you're going to take them up against Jedi Knight Revan and try to hit one of the Jedi with that. Or Talon here actually has a very similar mechanic, but she is going to give it to the Sith that is in the leader slot. Whenever they would be defeated while Darth Talon is active, they dispel all debuffs on themselves and recover 100% health. Very similar idea. JMK also has actually not quite as good of an ability, but I mean, he does a lot of other really good things. But the first time another ally reaches 1% health, they dispel all debuffs on themselves and recover 50% health and protection. So if you're having to go against these team, don't just immediately think that because you have General Skywalker or Malicos or Boba's big rocket or something like that, that when you get the kill, they'll stay dead, because they really never died in the first place. They just hit at 1% health, got chalked all the way back up to wherever they were supposed to be with how the kit is working, and then you'll have to deal with them all over again. So not, again, doesn't make them unbeatable by any standards, but you need to understand the mechanic before you actually get in there. And this can even help for defensive planning, depending on what the enemy counters are trying to do. Next up, and this one is a little bit infuriating because I don't know why it's a thing. I guess you could say it's for balancing, but the one thing all four of these characters have in common, and there's more characters to this list that just didn't fit in the screen at this moment in time, they all apply thermal detonators in one way or the other. The kicker is they all do different amounts of max health damage. Their thermal detonators are not consistently the same amount of max health damage against you. And this has even like screwed me before, because back when Darth Vader had his Datacron, I was trying to use him to counter a Jabba team. I was thinking, oh, typically thermal detonators, when Dengar hits me with them, they only do 20% max health damage. So when Boosh applied 4 of them to me, I'm like, oh, 80% health, that's not that big of a deal. I still have full health, I'll survive. And Boosh's thermals deal 30% max health. So my Darth Vader died, and it was very sad. But that's, you know, kind of irrelevant for right now. But anyways, this is something that we all need to kind of understand. Dengars, for whatever reason, are 20% of your max health. Jawa Engineer is 28.5. I do not know why the 0.5 was important. 30% for Boosh. And then Mob Enforcer has 40%. It doesn't really make her a very good character at this point in time, just because her kit, despite the touch-up, is still pretty basic overall. But she has, for what it's worth, the strongest thermals in the entire game. For what it's worth, most of them land in the 30 percentile like Boosh. I know that Jabba's in that category as well as several other characters. But again, when you're going into a match, this is something we need to be aware of, because you don't know if you need to use the protection heal or the health heal or the revive or whatever it is now, because when that certain turn comes around, you might not even be alive yet because the thermals will have already exploded, and depending on who applied them will determine how much damage they're actually going to do to you. And it's not consistent across the board. It does change via character, while some of them do share the same amount of damage. And the last thing that we need to bring up is how turn meter works. And I want to specifically point to how starting turn meter works. A lot of people think that when they go ahead and choose a character that has turn meter at the very beginning, Kyle Katarn is a really good one, that he gains 10% turn meter for each other Rebel fighter active allies. And what that basically means is, for Wedge being on the team, for Hoth Rebel Scout being on the team, and Pal being on the team, he is going to start with 30% extra turn meter. The temptation that everyone has when they're going to see if their troopers or whatever will be able to outspeed the enemy Mon Mothma team is they take out their calculator and they immediately think, okay, so I get 30% turn meter and my Kyle Katarn is 266 speed, so I'm going to times this by 1.3. Wrong. That's not how it works. This isn't speed, so we're not getting a 30% speed bonus. Rather, we need to discredit the fact that there was 30% turn meter we needed to cover with speed in the first place. Basically what this means is you don't multiply, you divide by the amount of turn meter you still have to go. So if Kyle Katarn in this example is going to be getting 30% turn meter, what we're going to do is we're going to take his speed, and instead of timesing it, we're going to divide it by the remaining amount of turn meter he would have after the 30% comes in, which would be 70%. So he's actually at a functional 380 speed. And this can really screw you. If you do the other calculation at the very beginning and you think, oh, he's actually not that fast, you know, my Moff Gideon will go in front of him. And then you run this calculation here and it's actually 380 and that's faster than your Moff Gideon repeat, all of a sudden they go first and they completely destroy you. And this isn't just limited to Kyle Katarn. There are several other teams that will have starting turn meter. Darth Maul lead, awkwardly enough, has it. It's probably not that common. The one really common one would be BB-8 under a droid team. He gives 8% turn meter per droid that is on there, so that can all the way up to 40% with the 5. And if you look at like a really average speed number, like 250 for Sortie, I guess, and you can probably get more from her leadership or whatever. But if you just take that as an example and divide it by 6, because they get 40% turn meter and then they have 60% left, she's at a functional 416 speed. That is very fast, even though most of it's just chalked up to turn meter. But understanding that concept when it comes to turn meter is important. You don't just have to multiply it like you would a speed bonus, whether it be speed up or another percent speed that is added in. You actually do have to divide it with the remaining amount of turn meter that would be there. So let me know what you guys think of this video. I know there are more concept or mechanical concepts like this in game. Let me know if you would like to see more of it. But until the next time, stay awesome.